Or you can just find out. How are you all doing? I am Georgia Farrell. I am the executive director of Safe Harbor Coronado. Under this. One of our little postcards here. This is just basically really great information about how to get a hold of us, right? So this is our phone number, our social media. We have low-cost counseling for anybody who lives in Coronado, works in Coronado, has kids in Coronado. We also have infant parenting programs like this one right here, and the community. And so if you feel these programs are free, we do have a donation box if anybody would like to allow for scholarships and things that people can come out of work for counseling, those types of things. This is in the back. And if you have not gotten one of these, and especially if you have kids, these are a magnet, and this is a new little thing that we're doing, and it's really cool. So the deal is that anybody, especially kids, can name their emotion. It dissipates the energy of that emotion. So if they're feeling really strongly on something, this will help them just by naming it. Is going to help improve with anxiety, depression, and all of those things. So I even read a study that said just thinking about what I might name it is more helpful. So I wanted to make sure you guys knew that as a resource. If you're new to Coronado and you have not filled out one of these and you would like a welcome basket and a welcome match band, please do that. Next month, we have our Navigating Parenting in the Digital Age. We have, what's his name? John Moffat. John Moffat has been with us for the last few years. He's amazing. He has a ton of resources. Highly encourage you to come and highly encourage you to bring friends. This is one that you're going to want to talk to your friends about afterwards, how you're going to handle all the amazing things that he is telling you. If you have any questions, my staff and some board members are in the back. We are here as a resource to the community. We are a small nonprofit, partly funded by the city and generous donors, and we are here to support your families. Craig Becker is our speaker today, and he has been.
How long am I going to?
Craig, how long have you been a speaker for us? Like 10 years?
I started with Coronado when we started with the drug, when the program started with the drug, and I came out here and did tons of work in the drugs. I'd say 15. How long am I going to?
You're going to go till 10:15. If you need to, you
10:15.
can start the Q&A prior to that.
Okay. Okay.
And
No, I talk a lot, so
we're
probably.
gonna cut this at 10:30. But if anybody has questions and if we're able to stay a little bit longer, then we will do more questions then. We do have that one sheet of paper. If you guys can fill that out after the event, before you leave, it makes a huge difference for us when we go to ask for funding from the city and donors and grants and things like that. So I greatly appreciate your time. Fred Becker, thank you so much for being
Thank you.
here. You are amazing. We're so grateful and lucky to have you.
It's the first time I've been doing this in almost 2 years. Presenting. I mean, I've been online all the time, but presenting. So pardon me if I get, this is really weird for me. Yeah, I've been to Coronado. I've been with Coronado at least 15 years, maybe 20 years. I guess I started, my background is psychology and public health. I started working with high-risk kids in schools. And then it went on being with drugs, but high risk is not actually drugs. The high risk and the problems with drug use relates to this lack of skills that our kids have. And I'll show you some of that today. Then I figured out that I could take a kid, turn them around, and get them working. Then I send back the parents, no offense. And this means me too, would screw them up again because change takes a long period to soak in and be part of our norm. And so I said, I'm going to work with parents from now on. So I ditched the kids and I'm working with parents now and have been now for probably 20 years. So that's my background. That's who I am. I live up in Carlsbad, been around here all the time. This is the topic I chose. And I chose this because this is a very interesting thing. When I meet with parents and we discuss their issues, sometimes the parents will say things like, oh, back up. Whenever I meet with a parent client, whenever I do a workshop, I put this up first. Here's the problem. We want our kids to change, right? We want them to do things differently. Well, the reason they don't do things differently is they don't know how. And you say, all I want them to do is make their bed. They know how to make their bed. Well, then there's another reason they're not making their bed. And I can show you what that looks like. But let me put it this way. If you're not willing to change the way you do things, then the kids can't. And if I see you as a client and first thing I ask you, are you ready for change? Are you ready to do things differently? I'm going to shake your world so you can shake your kids' world. It's all good stuff. It's all positive. By the way, when you do it, you feel better. You feel like you're a better parent, a better teacher, a better person. And it's not because you're flawed. Well, we're all flawed, but it's not because you're doing things wrong. You're doing the best job you can with the tools and the knowledge you have. And so it's time for change. We can't treat the kids the same way when they're in 5th grade as when they're in high school. We all know that. But how do you do it differently? So that's why I put that. It's not a warning. I'm not going to do anything to you, but that's it. So this is what I hear a lot of when I work with parents. Why do they know what they should do, but they don't do it? Anybody got that one? Any problems at your house? Okay. Not with your husband, wife, talking about the kids. So by the way, that's a correlation, okay? Why don't they live in accordance to the values and rules and responsibility and goals? Yeah? Those are the ones we set. It's not theirs. There are 2 different sets, okay? Why don't they try new things, get out of their comfort zone and take risks? Yeah? So why don't you do that? It's hard. And it's even harder for a kid. Remember, kids don't have the social emotional skills and the knowledge that we have because they haven't lived that long. So it's even more of a risk. And by the way, when they feel comfortable, they like that feeling. Well, I like to stay there. Why change it? You know, mom and dad buy me everything. I don't have to do anything. All I got to do is get good grades and I'm good. I got my games and everything on TV. I'm fine. So they don't want to, okay? They're intelligent. Why don't they get good grades? Because they're intelligent, okay? I was the other half of this. I had a 1.5 GPA at a high school. When I graduated from high school, the counselor told me, you should become a plumber. Now I have master's, doctorate. I've been doing this stuff all my life. Okay. School didn't fit for me. I didn't fit into school. And that's why I work with schools so much. We'll get to this later. They have great ideas, are creative, but they're unable to share the insights in a positive manner. This is the key for me. They're just not ready to do this. They're not sure of themselves. This is the bother for me. We'll talk a lot about that today. They are extroverts or are eager to meet other people, but do not have lots of friends. You can be extrovert, but you can have a lot of fears. And this is mostly about yourself to stop you from doing that. How do we help them to find their passion? You can't. They got to do it. You can set up an environment that makes it safe for them to find it, okay? And they will, okay? So, potential. People have great potential in things they're interested in, they like to do, they're good at, they want to get better at, and they see, this is important, has positive award side to it with risk and reward, short and long-term weighted positive values. If I do something and there's a positive weighted value to that, will I do it again? Anybody ever been to the gambling? When that thing goes ding, 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 and you get $90, what do you feel like doing again? Yeah, got it? Same thing with kids, same thing with us. If we don't have a weighted, the reason I mean weighted, if it's a little thing, they're not going to apt to do it again. If it's a bigger weight, then they're going to be apt to do that again. So we got to find out, instead of giving them money, what can they get that's of weighted value? And I'll show you exactly how the brain works and exactly what to do. Fair enough to everybody? Okay. By the way, if you have a question as we go, if it's a short question and you don't want me to help you solve your kid's problem, I can answer it and I'll stay later. Okay. I asked you the question, what potential are you looking for your kids to reach? Is it theirs or yours? And when it's ours, it's harder. We can get them to ours, but it's ours. By the way, when we set potentials, we set them here instead of here. Like if I want my child to clean the room, and I say, go clean your room. That's the potential I want. That's the picture that I want. Okay? And they won't do it. Anybody know why? Oh, this is class participation. Yeah. Oh, absolutely. When they get in, they'll clean their room exactly the way they think it should be cleaned. You come in, and the first thing you do when you come in, you say, you know, that bed's not made right. You know, you're supposed to do it this way. And look at these choices. Look at like this. Look at this. And all that you do is you point out the negatives. Where's the positive value of that? What if you walked in the room and you said, well, hey, you did a good job on that. I like that, the way that bed's made like that. Don't say, but it could have some improvement. Leave it alone. They got that far. Okay. Guy, you put this stuff away, put this stuff away. Hey, that was really good. Now here's the killer. Then you go, but, and those kids know the but. Just like, you know, this is adults. Work for an employer does this all the time. See how long you want to work there. Instead of saying, but, with the kids, I would teach you to say, there's 3 things that you missed. See if you can guess what they are. See if you can guess and figure it out. I'll be back in 5. Turn around, walk, and leave the room. Don't stand there in the room, go like this. That's pressure. Leave the room. See what, now it's a game. Okay, I'm going to outsmart my mom. I'm going to show her that I know what it is. And they'll look. Maybe they won't find it. Come back in 5 minutes, you say, you want to know what they are? Or if they do it, you say, oh, you got 1, you got 2, good job. Can you get 3? Turn around, walk away. It's what that is, it's a healthy relationship. What it is saying, instead of me solving your problems and telling you what they are and how to do them, let's see if you can do it yourself. All of a sudden, there's trust, there's perceptions of significance, capabilities, and influence you're building in this child. They'll risk more, they'll try harder. They love you. They want to look good in front of you. It kills them when you keep telling them all the things you're doing wrong. Trust me, that's what my dad always did. Okay? Does that make sense to you guys? Okay. What potential do you want them to reach? Pick one thing you want them to do better, not 5. Okay? And pick a small one, by the way, where they can succeed. Why aren't they reaching that potential? We'll talk about that. And one thing, if you're taking notes, write down one thing, small thing that you want to see your child raise their potential in. Just one small thing. If you got a little baby, maybe you want to see him stop crying or yelling. That's actually pretty easy to solve. Okay? Okay. You guys know what aptitude and attitude is, right? Which one do you want to change, aptitude or attitude? Aptitude is what you know. We already know these kids know what to do. This is what we got to change, is attitude. We want them to change their attitude so that they do it. so they know if it's of its weighted importance. Fair enough? Okay. I always like this. By the way, do you think school gives our kids the attitude they need for success in life, social emotional skills and all that stuff? Nope, it doesn't. Trust me, that happens at home. Okay. So there's two types of education. One is to how to make a living. The other was how to live happy, healthy, and successful in life. This is what your kids are missing and they need to get. Okay. Not scary. Okay. That's my granddaughter. Okay. When the kids are born, their brains are like that. A little bit of stuff on brain, because this is important that you understand why we have to do the things we do. Like this, they talked about this feeling chart. Okay. When your child is born, there's nothing in their brain. And then what they do is they get that brain filled up. You know what the steepest learning curve years are? Anybody want to guess? Yeah. I go 0, 5, 0, 3. Yeah. That's when the brain is flooded with the most things. So what does the brain get during those years? Everything it sees and hears. If your husband's running around using swear words all the time, guess what the kid learns? If you get upset and mad and yell, guess what the kid learns? And that stays in their brain forever. Doesn't go away. Stuff in your brain doesn't go away unless you get old and have dementia, and it goes away. But at this age, it doesn't go away. And all those habits and all those feelings and all the things you express verbally, visually, those kids keep. And that will build in them all their life until they leave you. Okay. So if you wonder where all this stuff comes from, that's where it, not that, no shame, blame, guilt, but a lot of it comes from that to start with. So this is where we work on social emotional building. If your kid's 5, 8, 15, or 22 still living at home, don't laugh, because that's the largest growing population. We can still change this. Okay. Major influence in kids are peers, first parents, right? Peers, media, and social norms. Once your kid gets to be about 5, you start to migrate to the second in the line. As the kids get older, you start to migrate down here where the parents do not have as much influence as they had before. Now we can change that by doing a lot of things, but understand that these 3 are the main ones. This is horrible. This is the thing that's really screwed our kids up. Okay, just remember, before cell phones and mass media, we were sweet little neat things. That's not true. Drugs are as bad then as when we got all this stuff. But this has increased it. So in other words, what I'm saying is the dynamic of the relationship between you and your child changes, and these things become their norm. So the kids don't ask you about your opinion because they can get it here instantly. They can find out if a shot's really worth it or not. We can see this in society today. Is there a lot of bad social media out there? Tons. What types of video games do your kids play? They're playing shows where they shoot people's heads off and watch them bleed. That's different than what I grew up with, which was Pong. It's different. It changes a lot. All I'm letting you know is this. So how do we increase our influence, and how do we decrease these? By the way, social norm is extremely important, and they want to be like other kids, especially the popular kids. Now, if they're hanging around with schoolboys, schoolgirls, the really smart kids, this is their social norm. This is why they want to be. That's why I don't want your kids hanging out with kids who use drugs. That becomes a social norm for them. You say, but I'll never do that. Yeah, right. Okay. Okay. Keys to potential are positive personal perceptions. We'll talk about that. Healthy social relations, social skills. I won't talk about that a lot. Emotional skills, we'll just start on that. And this is the big one. Determination. Determination means you want to do it and you're willing to work hard. If you want to be successful in anything, you got to work hard, correct? Okay. What do you think the Marines make you do? Excuse me, Navy makes you do. I've always said the best thing we should ever do is make military mandatory after graduation from high school for everybody. And we divide the military into two parts, home and away. And the home part is we have a bill of military that does all the infrastructure and takes care of all the social problems we have in the nation. We pay them just like we do everybody else and have them go do that. Like the Peace Corps, but I mean on a huge scale. And the kids can go do that because they don't want to learn how to kill people. We can do that because that builds a lot of this. Okay, so that's what we're going to discuss. Okay, perceptions. You guys know what perceptions are, right? What are they? Anybody want to shout something out? I'm not afraid to say the wrong thing.
How you look at something?
Yeah. So everybody else, can you hear it? Anybody else can hear me? Okay. Yeah, it's how you look at something. Okay. Perception is how you perceive something. Okay. And perceptions are very, very important because perceptions control our thoughts, and our thoughts control what? Our actions. And this is the way your brain works. By the way, there's, if you email me, I'll give you a title. I didn't bring with me a couple of books you should read. One's a very simple explanation of how the brain works. But here's how it goes. I don't think I have that slide. Yeah. So here's me. I'm not good in math. That's my perception. So when I get a math assignment, I look at it and what do I say? I can't do it because I don't understand it. So then when I take my test, I fail the test because I don't do my homework, which reinforces what? Okay, you're constantly in that cycle, loop cycle. You, me, and our kids. This is the way the brain works. If I want to make change happen, I can do it here. And this is what we do. We say, if you don't do your homework, you can't go outside and play. And so they do their homework. So what we've done is we controlled their actions. This is what we did in drug therapy for years. We control their actions. We stop them from using drugs. But the problem is when we're not there, what happens? I go back to this because we never changed that. Okay, let's do this. Thoughts. Here's what I want you to remember. If you don't do your homework, then you're not going to pass math. Okay? Okay, so what do you have to do? Okay, good. He's got it. I'm happy. And then what does he do? He doesn't. I'll give you $100 if you do your homework. He'll do his homework. Why? Because the weighted reward is high. But when I don't give him $100, what does he do? He says, I'm not going to do my homework unless you give me $100. What did we just teach him? Okay, you got it? We got to change this. So here's what I do. I say, let me see your homework assignment. He takes it out and there's 13 problems. And I said, okay, what's the problem? He goes, I can't do it. So I say, wait a minute, take a pair of scissors and I cut off and I give him one problem. And I put it in front of him. See if you can do that one. Leave him. When you stand here like this, what you say is, I don't trust you. Don't say, well, I'm here to help you. No, you're here to watch over him. Leave him alone, okay? You come back. Not a thing on the paper. What's the first thing you think you can do there? Look at your paper and see if there's one thing you can do.
These things are on math.
On the math.
Problem number one.
Okay. What's the first thing you do? Look at this thing and tell me tell me. And he says something. And I say, try it. It's not right. But I say, he tries it. It doesn't work quite well. And I said, let me give you another choice. What if you did this? He goes, I don't know. Try it. Turn around a little bit, come back. What? That worked. Okay, great. What's the answer? Yeah, that's the answer. Great. Give me that sheet. Here's your next one. So he's only doing one success at a time. Do you see what we're doing here? I'm training this to say, I'm not good in math. I am good in math. I can do that. If that changes, all this stuff changes, you don't have any problem. Anytime your kid does something wrong, that's what you're trying to change. Remember, perceptions will dictate actions. If you don't like an action, that means a bad perception. Look at the perception. Everybody in here has to become psychologists. You said, but that's too hard. I don't want to do it. Okay, don't. But the kid's flailing. They don't know what to do. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to solve their problem. And you don't know how to solve their problem. But I'll give you some key platform things. Everybody got that? Okay. There's conscious and unconscious thoughts. Conscious thoughts are things that you think about. Unconscious thoughts are things that are passing your mind. You don't even know you're thinking them. Okay? Which one do you think you have the most of? This creates a problem. Remember when you did something, you go, oh, I shouldn't have done that. Anybody do that? Well, if you think I shouldn't have done that, why did you do it in the first place? Your kids think this all the time when they screw up. I shouldn't have done this, but they don't know how to fix it. Anybody know what the answer to this question is? In order to fix it, you have to what? Think. You have to have that thought become conscious. And this is what we did with drug therapy constantly. We said, you have to make a decision. You have to click up into your conscious mind and make a decision. Do I blow this or not? Do I inhale this or not? Do I eat this or not? Same thing if you're on Weight Watchers. Then it didn't change. So understand, when your kids do something, when you do something, 90% of the time you're not thinking. 90% of the actions that you take, you don't think about them. You only think 10% of the time. That's why we only use 35% of our brain if we're Einstein. The rest of it doesn't get used. So you know what I'm going to ask you to teach your kids to do? The more they think, the more they grow, the more they learn, the better off they'll be. Fair enough? Okay. So this is what we got to do. We got to change those thoughts. We got to get them to think. 3 keys for raising their potential as a part of it. Oh, I went over this. So we got to think, got to get them to think. So perceptions. There's 3 perceptions. I gave you a sheet on this, right? I give everybody a sheet on perceptions. You got it? Okay, here's the thing I want you to think about. When you do something with your kid, when you interact with your kid, let's say that they got a report card, they got it, and it's all D's and F's. And you go, oh my goodness, look at all these F's and D's. You're better than that. You know you're better than that, son. You should. And here comes the classic lecture. And then the kid sits there with his head down. They don't even look at you because they're in shame. They're feeling. And so when you're done, you say, okay, you're grounded. They get their consequence and all that stuff until they get the grades up. What have you done to increase their perception of capability, significance, and influence? Nothing. So let's go through these. First one is capability. Capability means I can do that. If a kid says I can do that, they'll do it. If they say they can't do it, then there's something missing that stops them from doing that. Some perception is wrong inside their brain. Okay. So what you got to do is you got to think, okay, what can I do to build their perception of capability? What did we do with the example of the bedroom? Clean their bedroom. First thing we did is we came in and we saw what? Everything they did right. Oh, you did this right, you did this. 99% of the time, do we tell the kids what they do right or do wrong? You know why? We're programmed, just like our parents taught us. When we do everything right, we leave them alone because we're happy, right? Bedroom looks great. We don't say a word because that's what they're supposed to do. And then when they don't do it right, we slam them. And I'm not saying that's bad. Well, I'm saying it is bad. I'm not saying you can't do that, but I want you to look at the weighted value of how many times do you say positive, good things to your kids versus negative things, especially with the kids you're struggling with. You got that really neat kid. By the way, don't tell me you treat all your kids the same, because you don't. I don't care what you think in your brain, you don't. Okay, you got your real neat kid. How many you got your neat kids in your home? Okay, they don't say anything because they always do what you want them to do. Well, yes, and they're your pride. You always brag about it. Okay, and you know, and they know you know. And then there's me, and I'm your brother, and I'm looking at this and say, I can't do that. And by the way, if I tried, I wouldn't win because you do it so much better than I do. So I have to find another way of being capable. I have to find another venue. The more positives I get, the harder I'll try. Anybody want to know something to do right off the bat that'll help you? Going to take notes. I don't give these to you because I don't create codependencies. Take a piece of paper, on the top, write what they do right. Put their name down. Number 1 through 30. Every day you write down something that kid does right. Take your worst kid first. Don't take your good kid. That's too easy. Take your worst kid. Don't do this with your husband or wife yet. Okay. If I was in relationship workshops, we'd be doing it. Okay. So 1 through 30, right? They got their name on it. Every day you put down something your child does right, no duplicates. You have to do that for 6 months. No duplicates. Put it up where you can see it, but put it up in a place that's not obnoxious and disrespectful, like on the refrigerator. Put it up on your mirror in your bedroom, okay? And every day you put down something the child does right. What does that force you to do? Look for the things they do right. And when you can't come up, if I had you right now, make a list of all the things your bad kid does right, you say, God, well, I can only come up with 2. If I said, okay, list all they do wrong, man, you got 5 pages. Something's wrong here, guys. Yeah.
Suggest the child is aware of this list?
If you hang it up in your bedroom on the mirror, they'll see it. And when they'll, you don't, you go, hey, here's this list. I want you to see all the stuff. You don't do that. That's manipulation. Let them discover it. We're building their capabilities, not yours. I'm not going to rescue them by telling them to look at the list so they know how to make them feel good. I'm having them discover that list. They'll see it eventually, maybe not for 2 weeks. And they're going to say, what's that list for? And they say, well, I went to this workshop and I found out that I don't see all the things you do right. And that's wrong. And so I'm going to do this. And every day I got to put down what you do right and no duplicates. You can check it to make sure I don't have duplicates. See, I'm having to do something for capability. And they can do that. And they'll come in and they'll say, Dad, you didn't put anything on the list today. Well, I've been at work all day and I just got home. Now there you're bailing yourself out. You say, you're right, I haven't. So I'm going to do it right now. And you'll actually have to start the search after you get to about 15. I'm not kidding when I say 6 months. Try 6 times 30. And then you discover how great your child is. And you have that feeling inside, how much you love them, how proud you are of them. And that's what I want you to have. Okay? Now, it's not going to turn them around and the next day they're going to get all great grades and be great grades and be the best person you can ever have. We're talking about this with a ton of other things over 6 months to a year. By the way, I will guarantee you'll see changes immediately. And then you'll take off the list because you got the change you want. And guess what? Everything goes back to where you started. Not good. Got it? Okay. Significance. Significance means I have value. This is the most important one. I have value. I'm needed. If I'm not needed, then should I be on this earth? Yes or no? Anybody know the suicide rate in elementary school? It's gone up 3% in the last 2 years. More kids, elementary school kids, are committing suicide than ever before in the history of recording. What's the suicide rate in the United States? I'm not telling you. I know. Look it up. We have a big problem with suicide. By the way, is taking drugs a way of escape? That's why they take drugs. It's the way you get up. Just like when you have a hard day's work, week of work, and then what do? You pound 3 or 4 beers, feel better. It's escape. That's what it is. It's escape. Okay. Okay. Significance is extremely important. And influence means I can control my own life. I can make the difference. Not mom telling me to, not dad telling me. I can do that myself. Got it? Okay. You got to share. If, by the way, you have any questions on this, I'll give you my cards. I got some handout sheets. Call me, talk to me, and I will answer your questions. No, I won't charge you anything. Okay. Okay. So keep it positive. Try to do anything you can. Look at positive versus negativity. You talked about that. Catch them doing things right. Look for the positive in them. Look at the things they're doing right. Comment about them all the time. Spend positive time with your child. All of you in here should be spending one-on-one time with your child every day. That means without interruptions. And you can start out by 10 minutes. Okay. I can give you a program and you can do to set this thing up and start it. The kids don't like it at first, but when they find out that this 10 minutes you spend, there's no shame, blame, or guilt, and no conditions. All you're doing is talking. You're just talking to another human being. I usually, if I had enough time, and if I do my workshop series, I gave you this form and I ask you a whole bunch of questions about your kid. And then you fill it out and then I tell you to take it home and have your child grade it. Then you find out what you really know about your kid. Oh, don't worry, they get to fill one out on you too. Okay. That's to keep that daily list thing. Okay, I'm going kind of fast because I'm a compulsive talker. And what time is it? I'm running out of time. Okay, this is supposed to be just an overview. Teach them how to think. We discussed that before. Teach them how to think is to ask them questions, not from a guilt, shame, blame, but ask them questions from a question solving point with weighted encouragement. So when they do something wrong, here's how it usually goes. When they do something wrong, you go up and you're really mad, probably. By the way, remember what I said? Well, I didn't say this when I go to almost everything you say and everything you do is controlled by an emotion. And you don't know how to control your emotions. Neither do I. Well, I do, but I don't do it all the time. Matter of fact, I screwed up last night with my wife. Okay, she comes back, well, why are you so mad? I wasn't mad. Yes, you were. I was in denial then. I said, yes, I was mad. And she said, well, you took it out on me. And I said, absolutely, I did. The next, I asked you to help me by doing one thing. She says, yeah, and I forgot. And I said, okay, I'm going to put it up on the refrigerator. Would you work on that with me and help me to change again? Because I slid back. I'm going to show you that today before I leave. So teach them to think by asking them questions. What did I just do with that homework? I asked you questions. Okay, I gave you a little way to take the pressure of 30 problems and gave you one. Then I asked you to do it this way, what happens? And I asked you to try it this way. And we worked together to try to get a solution. Okay. Teaching them to think, stop your rescuing. Anybody here rescue your kid? No, don't do that. Okay. Quit rescuing your kids. Mom, how do I do this? Oh, here, let me show you. Why do you do that? Because you know, and because it could be fast because you're trying to do something else. It's quick and it's easy. What does the kid learn? What's the kid learn when you do that? That you do it every time. So why should I bother to learn to do this if you're going to do it for me? Somebody's back there giggling because they know this is exactly what they do, and it's true. Every client they see and we see, they're going, yeah. Because this is what they see all the time. Look, we're not idiots. We're very intelligent people, but nobody has sat down and worked with this on this basic framework. Forget all the rest of the parenting stuff. Let's work on this. Because without the foundation, you start to build another parenting program on top, it's going to fail. This is basic brain chemistry. Okay, teach them how to solve their own problems. And when they solve their problems, tell them to develop a plan. You know why kids don't plan things out except for when you're not around? Because you plan it for them. You tell them what to wear, what to do, what time to get home. You develop all that stuff instead of saying, what do you think you're going to wear? Do you think that's going to be appropriate for the weather? Ask them questions. Yeah, and it's snowing outside. Let them go. Let them go out and freeze. They'll learn. Okay, plus they won't freeze. Okay. By the way, I'll go after. If you have problems with kids completing tasks on time, getting to school on time, not allowing enough time, you have to teach them time management. And I have a whole section on that. Okay, teach them there are losses and gains of privileges based on their actions, not their words. Remember, their thoughts, we want to know what they're thinking. It's based on their actions, not their words. Okay, Mom, I'll get that done. Yeah, how many times you heard that? Like 40? And they don't do it. So every time you hear that, you know they're using that as a way of getting out of the situation. By the way, that's pretty cool, pretty smart of them. And it only took you 40 times to catch on. But now you know, okay? So you got to teach them how to ask, you got to ask them questions about their actions and have them develop plans that will work for them, okay? Okay, moving on. We're on time. Power struggles, stay out of power struggles, okay? Biggest problem we have is your kid, you ask your kid to do something, they go no. And then you sit there and you go, well, I've told you to do it. Well, I'm not going to do it. I want you to do this right now. It's a power struggle. It doesn't have to be like that. It can be something easy. Okay, you ask them to pick something up and put it away and they don't do it. And now you're coming up to them and having a talk. It's a power struggle. And when you push, what do? Push back or turn off. Sometimes they'll just stand there and say nothing. Some of these kids are smart. By saying nothing, I can get out of it. So here's what you do when you have power struggles. You ask 3 golden questions. When you ask your kid to do something, they don't do it, or when something happens, instead of saying, hey, I just heard that this happened. You know you're not supposed to do that, so you're grounded. Did that build significance, capability, and influence? Not at all. Matter of fact, it built the opposite. So you ask 3 golden questions. How many of you like to have a card on this when you leave? Okay, I'll give it to you, but write it down anyways, because when you write, you learn. When you listen, you don't. You know, in this ear and out the other. That's why you should take notes. Okay, the first question. Here's my daughter. I asked her to clean the room, and she didn't. I walk in and I say, first name? Hey, Diane, I asked you to clean your room. What happened? Perfect. Number 1 answer from kids is, I don't know. Why do kids say that? Remember, I'm going back to my side. Why do kids say that? It's an out. Or they don't say anything at all. Or they can say, because I don't want to. Now the fight's on. I don't care if you don't want to. You see that struggle? How good do you feel with that struggle? Except for the males. Males feel much better than the females. There's guilt. When you walk away, you don't feel good unless you won. But you left residue on that kid that's going to come back and haunt you. So when she tells me, I don't know, I don't fight that. Oh, she can lie. Well, I forgot because I remember you had me all do this other stuff and I just forgot. See, she blames on something else. She can flat out lie. And I just don't say anything because the reason I say what happened is so she can give me her side of the story. Okay? That builds your perception of what? Significance. She gets to talk. She gets to explain. And we're working on the negative here. I'm changing it into a positive. Okay? So I skipped that. The second question is, what are you going to do next time so this doesn't happen again? I'll guarantee you, probably every parent in this room has never asked their kid that question. Because you don't know. Except for one. I got one. Okay? Yeah, well.
Finally sunk in after 5 years of listening.
Well, see now,
Finally do it.
and I'm glad you brought that out because that's for all of us to understand. You cannot do this once and think your kid's going to learn. I taught an all-day class for middle school kids on doing one thing. When you do something wrong, you go up and you tell your parent, this is what I did wrong. This is why it happened. This is what I'm going to do again so it doesn't happen again. And if it happens again, this is the privilege I'm going to lose. We did video recording and everything. And then I said, you've got to use this with your parents. And every time you do that, your parents will get off. I titled the class, You Want Your Parents Off Your Back. And then I gave the kids surveys. I gave the parents surveys. And the kids sent me, and I emailed them, and they sent me back, and they said, Professor Becker, this really works. He said, I can get almost anything I want. All you got to do is figure out a plan to solve the problem, then actually do it. And even if I don't do it, I lose this privilege. And then I know I set the privilege, so I got to do the time. And my parents are really happy. And I'm happy. And I write back, and I'm happy. And we're done. So when I say, what are you going to do different next time? They don't know. She'll say, I don't know. And then you give her choice. You say, should you do this next time? Or is this your plan to remember? Or is this your plan? Give her a choice of one or two. Why don't I just tell her the answer? Why don't I say, well, then do this? What perception are we building? Capability. When I ask them a question, I have them pick one or two. I'm saying, you're capable of doing this. And I give them choice. Choice makes the brain think. When I'm sitting there and say, do this, her brain goes, yuck, 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 and doesn't hear a thing. I guarantee it. The third question, if this happens again, what should happen to you? What privilege should you leave? Should you lose? Leave out the word consequences. Don't use the word consequences. Okay. What privilege? Do your kids have privileges? Okay. I have a whole presentation on privileges and entitlements. You say, and they'll go, I don't know. You say, do you want a privilege of using your computer for the rest of the evening? Or do you want to lose your privilege of watching TV? Pick one that's equally weighted. And they'll say, I don't want either. So then you come up with one. Okay, I'll just take the computer, knowing that they're going to do it. Said, great, can you take care of the problem? Turn around, walk away. That's all you do. I'll leave the card, get it, and I swear, you pick, the kid does something wrong, you pick the card up, you go, what happened? What are you going to next time so it doesn't happen again? What's your plan? Read it. Keep that card. I got people all over the nation with that thing in their wallet. Okay. There you are. Oh, how long do they lose this privilege? You got to state time. You can't say no TV. You got to state a time, because if we say no TV, then they don't know how long that is. And they say, oh, well, I thought it was just for 2 minutes. Well, it's true. You don't have to write this down. I'm going to give you a card. Okay. And I'm wrapping up. Feelings, emotions. Emotional intelligence. Who wrote the book? Yeah. Get the book and read it. Emotional intelligence. It's probably the most important thing for the kids to have, and you. They're just starting to do this in schools. When I started teaching in 1969, I was doing this work. I taught a class called Psychology of Effective Living for 11th graders. And I had 50 kids in the class, 6 classes a day. It became a national class until they did budget cuts. Okay, so emotions, all these feelings and emotions. How do we teach our child to feel? Okay, they had that card, right? When your child comes up to you, or when you see your child in an emotional state, let's say anger, because that's the biggest one, okay? Or you're sitting in a discussion and go, well, I don't want to do it. Okay? As soon as you see that, is that you see them stomping their feet about something. The first thing you do is you come up and you say the child's name. Does anybody know why? When you're feeling, you're not thinking. When you're feeling, your brain's downshift, your brain's off. Okay? Everything is automatic. Remember I told you about that unconscious mind? And when I say Fred, What's the most common word in my vocabulary? Fred. It's my name. Well, for about 3 years with my dad, it was damn it, but that's another story. So I say, Fred, what? Or they'll stop racking, they're talking. And then they don't, I'll say it again. I won't yell it. Fred, what? Tell me how you're feeling right now. Give me a feeling word. Angry. What did I force that kid to do?
Pause.
No, somebody said in the back. Think. You cannot think and feel at the same time. The brain doesn't do it that way. That's not the way it works. That's why you did something wrong and then came back because you were mad and said, why did I do that? Well, you did because you weren't thinking. And what you do is you say, how you feeling right now? And they say, I'm angry. As soon as they say they're angry, all the chemical releases and that emotion stops working. You stop the anger. It's very simple. It works, really. And then you say, what are you going to do with that feeling? How many of you know what to do with a feeling when you have it? First of all, you got to recognize it. 3 things when you work with feelings, okay? Yes,
Can I address when sibling fighting?
yes.
And I want to interrupt it. Can I do it with both of them at the same
No,
time, or how
no,
do you do that?
quick. Here we go. By the way, those of you who have ever heard me, how many of you have heard me before? Okay, tell me if you've done this. When kids fight, here's what I want you to do. I don't want you to become a referee. You got to knock that off because there's a winner and a loser. The winner goes, ah, and the loser, okay? Perception, significance, capability, influence. I will go up to them. They're fighting and yelling at each other. I will yell depending on how loud they're speaking. I will say their names. Linda, Jack. They'll stop and look at you. They're waiting for you to do what? Not yell at them. God, I hope not. Yeah, they want the referee to decide the winner. Mom, you know what he did to me? You say, wait, stop. I want you to, come on, follow me. You're going outside. I want you to put them outside, put them in a safe place, okay? And say, when you solve your problem, you can come back in and close the door. Don't lock it. Close it. Get a chair and put it right next to the door and just sit there with a good book and just wait. When someone's going to come back in. And as soon as they come back in, you say, did you solve the problem? And they go, yes. And you say, okay. And that's it. It's done. When you're not around, a lot of that doesn't happen. And you are out of the fighting. Now, if they go outside and beat the hell out of each other, then we're going to have a different talk. And instead of spending some time with that, if that's your issue, you call me and I'll tell you how to deal with that. Okay? But I want you to try that first because they fight because they're mad, their anger, that causes that action. Okay? It's self-defense. Your body is set up for that. But what you do is you call it, you ask them how they're feeling, you call their attention to it, and then you tell them to go outside. And you say, as soon as you solve their problem, you come back in. Some will sit out there and argue for a half an hour. Let them argue, as long as they're not hitting each other. But some of them are smart to say, I'm not staying out here with you. Walk back in, solve the problem. Yep, and you're done. Out the door you go. Did that help?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want you to do this when the kids are fighting. Because here's the problem. You got 2 kids you got to do at the same time. It doesn't work, guys. Oh, here's a crafty one. You really want your kids to use this? You say, tell you what, I'm going to be doing this from now on with you. But I want you to do this with me because I yell at you. Well, you're right, Mom. You do yell at me. Okay, I want you to help me to stop that. I don't feel good when I do that. After I do that, I feel horrible. And I don't want to feel like that. I want to feel better. So can you help me? And I'll tell you right now, you start yelling at your kid, they go, Mom, what? How do you feel right now? You go, oh. Okay, what are you going to do with that feeling, Mom? And now they become the teacher. You get it? What happens to significance? Through the ceiling. What happens to their capability? Through the ceiling. What happens to their influence? Through the ceiling. That kid will be better off you do that. I know I'm going long, sorry. Here's some of the things you do. Something physical, they just go outside and go for a walk. They go out to the front porch and out the front driveway and back. That's all they have to go. They don't have to run 10 miles. They isolate them. They go in a room and be by themselves. The stimuli is gone, the other person. Another thing is distraction. Play video games. Of course, this would be nice. They just scream at you and they say, okay, I'm really mad, so I'm going to go play a video game. Okay, got that? Okay. Look at, you want them to be able to complete things. You got to build these social skills, and you got to have them, you got to start out setting up balance, positive and negative, so that they can understand and see that. Okay. This is what I want. When I do a workshop, when I work with families, I want them to have happy, healthy, and successful adults. If that's what you want for your kids, that's a tall order in today's society. And your job is to create the environment and to help my child to believe, to feel and believe that they are happy and healthy and successful right now in my home. Because if they can do it here, they'll do it in life, because that's what they'll look for. So that's what I'm after. And I'm way over. But I'm a compulsive talker. Next time I'll have to stand, and if I can't, then I can't come and do this anymore. That's my privilege. Did you get anything? Somebody get anything they can lose? Or use? Not lose, use. Okay, I'm done. I'm sorry. See, I always apologize when I'm over.